Yeah, I need somebody. Not just anybody. Can you please help me? Let's go, baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car.
Welcome to Paul or Nothing, the place to get all of your Paul, all of the time. Join me, your host Sam Wiles, as we discover the history, the music, and the man behind it all, Paul McCartney. To get in contact with the show, email us at paulmccartneypod@gmail.com.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode indeed of Paul or Nothing, the place to get all of your Paul all of the time. I am, of course, your host Sam Wiles, and I have to start with an apology. Okay, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. Where the fuck have I been? I don't know really. I've got a new job. I'm exercising a little more. The Paul is Dead episode is taking forever and ever, and that should actually be out in the very near future. I've been seeing friends that I haven't seen for fucking years. Oh, and yeah, I've just been really lazy with the podcast. I'm really sorry. I mean, fuck, right? I was producing more episodes of this show in the ensuing months after my partner of 3 years dumped my ass, so I don't really have any excuse why I haven't been putting out the episodes, but obviously, as many of the diehards of this show will know, when there has been a lull in the episode output, there will normally be a slew, an absolute floodgate opening of episodes in the near future, and that is also true for this period of time as well. However, this specific episode was not planned at all. I did not know that I was going to be making this episode at all. It's a bit on the fly and I'm very excited for it. This show has had lulls before, and episodes like this will always come along and ignite that little podcasting spark up inside me once more. And what has spurred me to such levels of animation? What possibly could bring me out of my slumber? Why, it could only mean a new fucking Paul McCartney release! Yes, in fact, during the entirety of this podcast, outside of reissues and re-releases and little snippets of live footage here and there, we have not had any new Paul McCartney content to discuss. And in a move that is entirely out of character for this show, I thought a slightly speedier response with an accompanying badass thumbnail would be in order. I've never had new Paul McCartney music to talk about, folks, so I personally don't know how I'm going to be handling it either, but hey, we'll see where this goes. But before we jump in, we've just got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we can move on with the jubilations, as it were. Obviously, you can check out the show on YouTube and Facebook simply by typing in Paul or Nothing. Find us on Twitter. That is the best way to get in contact with the show and me personally, and to keep up to date with all of our little ins and outs. That's at McCartney Pod. I want to hear your McCartney stories as well. One of the things I want to build on the show is a bit of a dialogue between the listener and me. One of my favourite aspects of McCartney is how people actually got into him, especially if you weren't around for the Beatles. I love how people may have, in their own unique way, have become addicted to Paul in the manner that we all have. Also, if you have anything to say about any episode, any upcoming release, any music that I've discussed, any reviews that you may not agree with, please drop me an email at paulmccartneypod@gmail.com. That's paulmccartneypod@gmail.com. If you want to help support the show, you can find us on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/McCartneypod. That's the best way if you want to see the show expand, if you want to see the show grow, if you want to see us expand and experiment with new content, and just to help keep the lights running on the show. That is the best way for you to do so, in a small way or in a large way. And last but certainly not least, you can check out the blog. I've actually been doing quite a bit of work on the blog recently, doing a couple of nice articles for it, where I'm basically ranking everything that Wings ever did. Yes, unfortunately, we are leaving the Wings era on this show now, so I thought the best way to do it would be to pointlessly rank everything that they've ever done in their entire oeuvre, and that is up on the blog now, and that is up on the blog now for your viewing pleasure. I might make it into an episode in the future, who knows. And you can find that at www.paulmccartneypod.wordpress.com. That's www.paulmccartneypod.wordpress.com. Oh, and secondly, last but secondly not least, also please, if you can spare 5 minutes, find us on iTunes, find us on any of your podcasting apps, and leave us a 5-star review or the equivalent nice double thumbs up review. Thank you very much. And that is the housekeeping over. Moving on. For about a year now, there's been a constant but ever-present hemming, humming and hawing and buzzing about the internet and various musical publications clamouring and speculating about the next Paul McCartney release in his discography. What will it be about? What will its sound be? Who will feature on it? Who will produce it? Will he have Ringo on it? Etc, etc. And I must admit, I'm not sure whether it was a genuine surprise release or whether I was just out of the loop and not paying attention, but I remember seeing something late in the evening of June 19th about the album being released on September 7th, and then by the time I got home from a double shift on the 20th, there were apparently two brand new Paul McCartney songs that had just been released and were freely available to listen to and sample on Paul McCartney's YouTube page. Now, whilst I personally may have been caught off guard with my trousers around my ankle with these songs, the release as a whole was not entirely without warning. McCartney's Instagram page had completely wiped off all of its content a few weeks ago, and ever since they've been drip feeding various cryptic, symbolic, aloof imagery as well as shots of Paul with various instruments, and this obviously stirred the pot enough for a pretty high level of hype for an upcoming release. And I know initially I was kind of hoping for something brilliant in the way that all optimists do. I don't want to see Paul fail. I don't want to see Paul put out bad music. I love the man. I love his music. I love what he's been doing for us for the past 50 years. So, of course, I'm a little bit biased. I do a Paul McCartney podcast. Obviously, if the album's fantastic, that's going to be great for the show as well. If the album's pretty mediocre, that's probably going to be the worst outcome. So if it's not going to be good, you better hope it's going to be bad. But it'll be interesting to see what my guest, who I'll be introducing later, will have to say on expectations for this album. Not that the two singles that we're going to talk about today would indicate anything close to what kind of album I was probably expecting. You know, this album is slated to have a variety of styles and themes, love songs, a tune about Trump and an epic orchestral close. So it's all pretty standard stuff really, nothing too off the wall. This isn't going to be another Electric Arguments or anything. This is just going to be a Paul McCartney album by a 76-year-old Paul McCartney who's been moving in a general direction that we've kind of been seeing for several years now. Paul posted some of his thoughts about the upcoming album on his website quite recently actually, where he essentially explains the title and where the album comes from. He says, "I like the words Egypt Station. It reminded me of the albums that we used to make. Egypt Station starts off at the station, and the first song, and then each song is like a different station. So it gave us some idea to base all the songs around that. I think it's like a dream location that the music emanates from." And in an interview with the music publication DIY, he continued his tradition of basically tying everything he's ever going to make into the Beatles in order to drum up publicity. And he said the following. I actually can't believe he said this, but "I was listening to this programme last night and I thought about Penny Lane, and I thought about how it was just one piano that I played, but it turns out it's 8. We were goofing around like that, and it inspires you so that you think you can go anywhere. It's still going to sound like a piano, but sonically you can play with it. Sgt. Pepper was a big influence." How insightful, Paul. Thank you very much. I mean, to the listener out there in the world, not, going into spoilers or anything, but did you feel Sgt. Pepper was being evoked when you listened to I Don't Know and Come On To Me? Well, we're going to find out now, really, aren't we?
Now, this is all pretty new kind of virginal territory for us here on the show. As many of you belated fans know, the process in which these episodes can come out can sometimes even be weeks in the making. But in an effort to ride current trends and maybe go even a little bit viral, comparatively anyway, we'll be doing this one on the fly. The same will apply, obviously, to the inevitable full album review of Egypt Station 2018, which is released on September the 11th, which is right around my birthday. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I'm not going to be reviewing this one on my own. No, I'm going to have someone who's going to help me temper my more raw emotive state in this turbulent time. The last time you heard his voice, he was discussing the highs and occasional lows of McCartney 2 and his many things. He's a talented guitarist, poet, host of such podcasts as Battle Rap Resume, Who Watches the Watchmen, Alpha Metallica, and of course Down in the Hole, which he co-hosted with me all those years ago. Please welcome back good friend of the show and my true confidant, Mr. Tom Kwei. Welcome back, my friend. How are you?
Don't go chasing polar bears in the great unknown. Some big friendly polar bear might want to take you home. Sam, how's it going?
It's very, very fitting that you've mentioned that, because I'll be going back to that certain song later, because you've made a certain statement about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that there are all too many battle rap fans who are also Paul McCartney fans, but this isn't the only podcast you are doing today. You're doing a bit of a Friday Beast session, so we will crack on, and we'll try and rein it in general on this show. The big question, though, before we dive into the 2 new Paul McCartney releases, have you indulged in the latest McCartney media? Have you seen James Corden's carpool karaoke? Or karaoke?
Yeah, it went live. I'd seen the trailer a few days ago, and obviously very excited. Also, selfishly, because I went to uni in Liverpool, I'm familiar with Liverpool. I know that he went to the Philharmonic, the Phil, as John Lennon used to refer to it. I think John Lennon's seat is still in that bar. It's an awesome place, just opposite the actual Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool. Incredible venue. I haven't seen it though, unfortunately. I think it just came out about an hour or so before recording this early on this Friday morning. So
yeah, it literally did just come out. You were posted a link, and I was very fortunate enough to see that. But seriously, it is a cringe fest from
oh wow,
from start to finish. Like I physically winced and spasmed throughout it. And I'm not gonna lie, this sounds really harsh, but seeing James Corden lead Paul McCartney around Liverpool, take McCartney to his family home, make him do a cod version of the rooftop gig in a local pub, while singing the songs of his life, it almost made it look like James Corden was Paul McCartney's son, and McCartney had got massive bouts of dementia.
Wow.
And Corden was trying to jog his memory to bring him back, fucking Awakenings or some shit. Oh my God. And dude, the whole show's a bastard version of the great VH1 Storytellers, basically.
Yeah.
And then Paul gets on to Let It Be, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna do the story about how his mum came. His mum came to him in a dream. It's Paul, you've got one anecdote for each song, and you just roll it off because you're a real showman. It's really hollow. And then James Corden has to sing along to "Come On to Me."
Does he?
One of the songs that we're going to be discussing later, and clearly he is looking off camera onto his phone at lyrics. I saw it twice. James Corden, you could tweet me back.
Well, a lot of the song is so I guess that stuff would come easy to him. But
and then just seeing James Corden going something temptation, and then he was yes, I got that bit right. He couldn't even sing "Hey Jude" at one point. It was quite. Yeah.
But he nails the musical numbers, so.
Paul can sing well one-on-one in a car, but maybe not so much in a studio. Kind of leading up to that statement, have you listened to much of any of his last release? Did you listen to much of New? Were you aware of New back in 2013?
I was aware of New. I admired the art cover. I thought the art cover was very intelligent, very striking, and sort of influenced the sound for me, this sort of post-Tracy Emin, neon, artificial, sort of candy gloss. And I listened to a few tracks that you recommended, and Paul always makes the wrong decisions in songs. There's a song called "Save Us" that has quite a drama to it in places, but there's certain moments in songs, and it happens quite often with Paul, where he'll go up a note or the chorus goes in a certain mood, and it just shatters the whole for me. So yeah, I didn't mind this, and I found that New and what was it, Queenie Eye? I think Queenie Eye's
fun.
Queenie Eye's fine. It shares the DNA with Come On to Me, and it shares the DNA with so many Paul McCartney songs that are sort of on rails to a certain extent, like Nobody Knows off McCartney 2. They're just these prefabricated bluesy rock numbers, the vocal melodies and catch on each other like a Chinese box, just repeating himself as these cones, these mantras. It's a little drab, I don't know, it's a little stock.
Yeah. And would it be fair to say that you've kind of got a more or less a general grasp of the outline of Macca's career over the last couple of decades? You're aware of Flaming Pie, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard.
Oh yeah.
And say if you had to plot a graph of the quality of Paul's voice and music, with the y-axis representing voice and music and x representing time, is that a line that's going downwards at all for you? Because
I guess so. I would actually, I prefer McCartney 2 over the Wings era, so I suppose the graph would be a huge spike for Ram, which I do think is his best work. I obviously don't know him as well as you, but through you, and I also do love Paul McCartney and the Beatles. We discussed this on other episodes. But yeah, I wouldn't say it would go down. I don't really know Wings that well, but we won't talk about the Wings Over America debacle on this episode, where I sort of was so critical that it corrupted the very audio file. I don't quite know how that happened, but yeah. And then it goes up for McCartney 2, which I really like.
of course, like kind of the general consensus in the community now is that the albums have kind of lost that spark, where half of it is at least half decent, and now it is just this kind of factory thing, like you say. And we're going to talk about expectations in this episode briefly as well, and how you can manage that. And I don't know how I'm going to take Egypt Station, really. I mean, what do you think of the title, Egypt Station? What sort of images and sounds are evoked for you?
Yeah. It's I much prefer the artwork with knowing the title, because it's kind of quite clever as a pyramid as antenna, and I quite like the simplistic image, and it almost looks like a sun and railways going into distance, so it has that sort of station connotation as well with it. But yeah, if you heard the title, I would imagine something almost colonial or something like that, some sort of rich League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Alan Moore tapestry. But seeing this, it kind of has that effort because it has the travel stickers on the front. Egypt Station, it's fine. I like that it's quite memorable, at least.
I don't think it rolls off the tongue nicely enough. Egypt Station, it's a bit clunky for me. I think the artwork's personally a terrible hodgepodge of old Paul McCartney pagan imagery, and it's like, oh no, it's just, well, it's clearly, and this is the same with both videos, because both music videos are essentially just moving infographics of this album cover with the lyrics printed on the screen. And with those videos and this cover, it's clear that Paul does want to show his face now, because he looks like an old owl granny, and it's just sad to see these kind of generic uninspired images adorning his work, when, you know, why not have him in black and white, in, you know, stark lighting or something? Just have something.
Yeah, Johnny Cash him, maybe.
Johnny Cash it up. Yeah, it's a good
solemn.
Shot, really.
I want solemn Paul.
Yeah, well, like that.
Too happy.
That Paul's not going to happen, and it's like, Paul, like, obviously you're going to do a tour with this, and it's a tour that we're going to probably end up having to fucking seat on, because, you know,
if he goes anywhere in England, and maybe anywhere in Europe, really, I'm willing to travel just to see him. Yeah.
And we're going to have to see this tour, and it's already going to have to be chock-a-block, 3 hours full of songs from his past repertoire anyway. And now it's going to have to be with at least these two songs, plus another 2, 3, 4 maybe from the album.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, why is this got to be the Paul McCartney tour that I, the host of Paul or Nothing, have to see?
Be grateful. Be grateful you're seeing this, man.
Why aren't I alive during Wings Over America?
When he comes out of that giant pyramid at the start of the show, you'll be applauding with everyone else.
That pyramid, man, that was so appealing to the Paul is dead Illuminati imagery conspiratorialists, and obviously my Paul or Nothing episode is my fucking apocalypse now of episodes. It's taking so fucking long. And look, I think it kind of goes without saying in terms of what I feel about these two songs, not going too much into spoilers, and what I'm going to feel about this album, what I'm expected to feel about this album. We come from a down in the hole background. I remember in those earliest days when, you know, we were kind of laying out the manifesto of, like, you know, we're not going to wank this guy off. That's kind of carried through to everything that you've kind of done, and everything that I've kind of done, really. And that's fine. And honestly, I'm not looking forward to this album now. Wow. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of dejected. I'm not looking forward to it at all. It was meant to come out 4 days after my birthday, and I was going to book the day off and go buy it and everything. I might just listen to it on Spotify now and then just review it that way. It's going to be a bit limp. It's going to be It's going to be like seeing an old relative in hospital. It's just going to be sad. Like,
well, let's get into Come On To Me. Which starts with the chugging, the sort of the heartbeat, beat pulse, the clatter. The problem to me here initially is the instrumentation. You can hear what sounds like a piano beneath the chords, which I noticed on New as well. Paul likes his piano lines leading the melody. Yeah. And to me that gifts a sense of lethargy to the song. It doesn't feel very direct. It doesn't breathe. It feels quite stuffed. And the piano pauses as well. If you listen to it, it doesn't chug along, it keeps stopping. And that again just trips me up when I'm listening to it. And all in all, the intro, I think, is quite bland, really. And the lyrics like Paul's answer to like post-Weinstein era, like Me Too era, like did you come on to me, will I come on to you, are the operative words. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like,
this is the guy who said she's just 17, you know what I mean? Like,
Look, the central concept of the song is where it falls flat on its face, and the very central core idea of your song is a pretty fucking pathetic place to hit a snag, really, because the result that we're left with is a song that should have been broken down, completely rebuilt from the ground up as a different, completely rock track, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, and what is this central conceit? I hear people ask, and it basically is this 76 virile vegan pot smoker coming on to women. He's like, come on to me, I'll come on to you. I don't want him coming on to people literally, physically, chemically, or spiritually, really. And just the idea of Macca hitting on any, a lady, young, old, or middle age, is just a little unsettling.
I took it as Nancy, though. I took it as kind of directed to her. Like,
really?
Because the lyrics are them meeting. It's him meeting a woman and stealing away, and I don't know, maybe not, but her grabbing her coat. And I like the progression as well, because it begins with "Will I come on to you?" and then with the confidence that builds, "If you come on to me, then I'll come on to you." And that is quite a sexy thing to say, isn't it? That assurance that if you make a move, he will receive. Okay, I know it's vegan potty Paul.
Like, calm down, mate.
But it is still like, it's quite an endearing, intimate way to end the song. It's just a shame that musically, it hasn't really got anything. Like, this is the guy who wrote fucking Golden Slumbers, and it's just, I don't know, it feels like Paul's spirit has been put into a computer, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Solo, and like there's just the Paul algorithm, and it just shoots out Paul songs, and this is number 10 billion. It doesn't feel like he's doing anything new.
You've literally just stolen my best analogy for the other song that we are about to talk about. But seriously, I know exactly what you mean. It feels like Paul has been hit by one of those Dementors from Harry Potter 3. Just like none of his life force is there anymore, and like he's just this husk of an artist that I'm now interested in. Like, when Trump first came into office, and people were like, maybe he's going to do things so bad at first that it's like a weird meta tactic to like make his future achievements look good by comparison. And I'm just hoping that songs like "Come On to Me" are like that. It's some part of a weird marketing strategy to like lower my expectations to such a fucking bedrock that when Egypt Station does come out, and there is the song about Trump, and there is the epic closer, the epic orchestral closer that's been advertised and stuff like that, maybe I'll leave with a slight grin on my face. But if we just went by "Come On to Me," I would not be excited at all. This doesn't feel like a double A side that it claims to be. It's definitely not even a B side. Like, he's already given this irreverently old hat piano style single from a 900-year-old man, and now hearing something a little more livelier with a little more marquee value obviously would be a little more appealing, and it just falls flat on its face.
But when the song has the fake ending at the end, and then Paul's like, he's like, come on, or whatever it is he says, yes I will, like, poor sod sounds out of breath on that.
He sounds more out of breath than at the end of Wings Over America.
He's in the middle of the Abbey Road right now, music.
And rather like in the way that We Can Work It Out and Penny Lane, have their equal B-sides, Come On To Me has an equally shite other side as well, which is called I Don't Know. And I'm in my room, I've just got back from work, I've smoked a few beers, I'm sat with YouTube, that tab is open, it's just loading, and when those opening piano notes start playing from I Don't Know, there's a semblance that it was about to actually fucking go somewhere, and it had all the initial signs of that kind of soft touch, steady hand McCartney melody, and I was quite comfortable with entertaining the notion that Paul could pull it out of the bag one last time with a proper piano ballad. And then he starts to sing, and like the moment that world-weary, weakened beyond repair vocal performance enters the track mix, I just lose all faith in this production's ability to deliver music that I know it sounds kind of harsh, but would actually want to listen to. And it sounds kind of hyperbolic, but music, possibly more so than any other art, you may agree, you may disagree, can be broken down into things that you do like and things that you don't. And I was taken quite aback by how certain I was in my own conviction that I did in fact not like what I was listening to at all. What's worse is that highly morphed techno-modulated voice that swings wang with Paul, what it does is tease me with thinking that Egypt Station could have gone possibly into a more McCartney 2 Fireman Twin Freaks-ish direction, and it's really obviously not going to do that, is it? And look, Tom, sometimes it's okay for me to hate on something if I love it, and it's not okay for someone else I know to do it. And, my love for Paul McCartney is no exception. So, with a heavy heart, I ask you, what did you think of I Don't Know?
I didn't despise it as much as you did, really. I disliked it, but I think because you're so well versed in Macca and you really know him at his best, that you can see that this is a bit of a duff one. Yeah, I didn't like the opening piano, to be honest with you. It felt very Christian infomercial-esque. It didn't really feel sincere anyway to me. The song itself, when he begins to sing, the way that sort of the guitar and vocals close around each other, it's very intimate. Remind me a little bit of, say, a Coldplay or a Frey or one of those sort of indie bands, and it has that unnecessary. Listen to this verse again. I've only listened to this song maybe 10 or so times, so it's not sunk in too much over the last 24 hours, but I always remember in the verse of this song, Paul's voice just goes somewhere else in the scale. It goes slightly different. He takes a chance, and it doesn't work for me. It's not catchy, it's not interesting, it's kind of irritating. Didn't dig this song. The piano that comes at the end as well gives it this syrupy faux grandness that I find quite stultifying.
Oh man, it is sad to see him here, and what makes matters worse for this song is it does have a palpably laughable set of lyrics. Obviously, you are the Paul McCartney rhyming couplets inspiration when you ragged on Waterfalls, and obviously this song is chock-a-block with that same kind of bog standard patterns and predictable rhyming. And my analogy was, if you were a scientist and you were creating an AI machine to synthesize and write a Paul McCartney song, this is what it would sound like. The lyrics are pretty shoddy, and the opening line and the way Paul sings it actually did make me laugh. It was like, I got crows at my window, dogs at my door. It was a bit weighty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I could take anymore. It was so poor, and I was like, oh no, this is it. Like, oh no. I don't know what I was expecting. I really don't. And what was I really expecting? Another McCartney 2 and another Ram? If I was, I'm a fucking idiot. Because this song has very few positives. I mean, the basic phrase, I don't know, is slightly catchy and has a certain ring to it. That's about it. But for me, it's just so strange that the entire lyric of the song seems to be directly appealing to cynical 20-somethings who buy music like you and me. And, he's giving us this tripe music, and he's begging us to answer for him, why is he doing wrong? And it's like, well, Paul, you're putting out bad music. That's what you're doing wrong. Wow. And no, you don't know. Because you've been surrounded by yes men for 50 years. The only people who are going to buy this single are the same as the people who are going to go see the new Han Solo film. They are the built-in fans who are going to buy anything that the franchise puts out, regardless of quality. Right. I'm probably going to buy Egypt Station because it'll have been my birthday, and I'll have a bit of spare cash, obviously. So fuck it, I'll buy it. But it's not going to be a valuable purchase at all. And I don't see these songs or this album winning over any new fans whatsoever. It's quite pathetic, really. And just before we started this one, obviously I was thinking about you and Waterfalls and McCartney 2, and you actually were just in a brief dialogue with our friend and fellow podcaster Morris Basinski on Facebook.
Legend.
And you said, and I quote, that neither of these songs were that bad. And I was actually quite looking forward to hearing you sing these songs' praises, but thankfully
the hate grew on re-listens.
Thankfully you haven't been too good, because one of the cornerstones of this show actually is how Paul McCartney songs grow on you with multiple listens, and how he plays the long game. And I was like, maybe that's kind of run out of steam now. Maybe he should have come out with something really catchy and A Hard Day's Nighty, just to kind of
I mean, look, we shouldn't expect anything. We should be grateful that he's putting out music and touring.
Should we? There is a part of me that's like, if I was writing the screenplay right now, I kind of would have liked it to have ended with new. it's a nice album thematically to end on as well, and it seems to be like that's where the last sparks of quality was. And going back to Morris, this isn't as good as Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, where he was in his 50s and early 60s and creating brilliant content. Morris did like these two songs, and I'm glad that he could take that kind of grassy knoll scale bullet on my behalf, because I don't feel anything close to the same wavelength as that 97-year-old Australian man. Right. But I don't see any merit in these songs whatsoever. I was really quite shocked. It was stunning how not good they were. It was stunning. Like, I was like, oh, okay. Like, who let him release this? Like, when that publishing firm, like, basically harangued Harper Lee while she was in her dementia state towards the end of her life, tragically, and they got her to release Ghost Setter Watchman. This is McCartney's Ghost Setter Watchman.
Oh my God! Calm down.
Oh God. No, I hated it. I was really upset. And besides me kind of going, I've got crows out my window to make myself laugh in a kind of Rob Brydon fashion, there was nothing for me to garner from these songs. I'm really sorry. I was really upset. I don't think there's much to really say more than that. Luckily, Tom, when we go and see him, we'll have Let Me Roll It, and we'll also have these two songs as well, and I'll be able to look at your face for all three of these songs and just see you go, yeah, well, at least we bought some beers with us. We'll just drink a beer during this segment.
No, I'm going to queue up and get a pyramid-themed mug from the merch stand. Aussie Mandias over here, fucking Macca. But yeah, these songs, nothing too much to write home about. Great. But great to come on the show again. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of this show, and shout out all the people listening. Email into comment below. Let us know what you thought about these tracks. They're going to be listened to. They're going to be quite popular inevitably, as you say, that baked-in fan base. But I'll have to come on in the future. I think we're going to do one of the Fireman stuff we said, Electric Arguments.
Definitely, we're going to do that one, and maybe possibly the Twin Freaks, which I do want you to check out. I do want you to listen to. Yeah,
I'll listen to that definitely, man. But it's been a pleasure, bro.
Yeah, dude. Closing statements. This really wasn't anything that would fit on a McCartney 2 or a Ram, is it? No. It did kind of flirt with some idealistic Renaissance-esque ideals, but I've obviously been the fool on the hill, and this is going to be a downward spiral that sees this podcast.
I'm going to listen to it though. I've got to listen to it now because I've got the taster. So.
Dude, I'm a content creator. You've seen fucking Don't Flop collapse over, which is a big battle, collapse over the last year. This is going to be my collapse of Don't Flop.
Okay. Thanks for putting into terms I'm going to understand.
Dude,
go check out our McCartney 2 episode, everyone listening as well. That was a really good episode.
Yes, it really was. It really was. It's one of my favourites. Look, Kwei, I know you've actually got many, many podcasts to do today. You are the Joe Rogan of working class British podcasting. Take care, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Coming.
Yes, Tom is a very busy man. He has to shoot off. But yeah, closing statements about these two songs. I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say. I think you've all garnered quite clearly right now that I am not happy with these releases. I know it may sound hyperbolic, it may sound like I am drumming up a crazy YouTube reaction to draw up views and create something viral, but it's really not that. I really am quite upset and distraught with this. Like, I did laugh when I heard Paul start to sing in both of these songs. That's not a good sign. I've listened to each one at least 20 times now, and nothing is sinking in the way that even the worst songs from Red Rose Speedway and London Town did for me. There's just a lack of affection that I feel towards these songs that's quite troubling for me. And on Paul or Nothing, I've set out to create this kind of A to B storyline that starts at the end of the Beatles and will continue to the end of Paul's musical career. And it's just a shame that it's going to have to go towards Egypt Station, and that's going to be possibly the final destination that the train stops at. And for Paul to get off at Egypt Station would, at this point in time, seem to be a misstep for the overall narrative for me, and it's going to spoil the movie that I want to write. Preferably, Paul would have ended with Chaos and Creation in the Backyard and just left it at that and possibly done cover albums and live albums, but here we are. If this is the best that Paul can do for a double A side at this point, folks, I really don't know what we are supposed to think. Like, this is a sad day, to quote Tom from the last day of sixth form, and it is just a time where I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's real now. I don't know what Yes Men okayed this thing for Paul. I don't know how they allowed it to be released. I don't know what vanity Paul is feeding at this point. I don't know if he feels like he needs to write these songs for Nancy or something. Paul, you really don't. I think it's time to hang up the hat with this. I really am. Just a book note this episode. This is a podcast made by a massive Paul McCartney fan, if you can't tell, and I make this for Paul McCartney fans, and I really don't want there to be any bad blood out there between me and the fan base. I love Paul with all my life. I've dedicated so much time to writing about him, doing the blog and making this podcast and making sure it's up to date and factual and accurate, and that it comes from the heart from me also. And that is the double-edged sword. And unfortunately, at this point, this is just one of those moments where I don't like the content. And it's not just me hating on him because he's old or because it's his new stuff. Let's just look at this objectively, folks. This isn't a hagiography. I come from down in the hole. It's not very good. It's just not very good. Thank you very much for listening to Paul or Nothing, folks. I've been your host, Sam Wiles. It's been fantastic to get a fucking episode out for you. This has been like a purging of emotion. I feel so glad to get this out for you today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Facebook, on the YouTube, or send us in an email to paulmccartneypod@gmail.com. Let me know about what you thought about Paul McCartney's double A-side release for Egypt Station. What are your thoughts on I Don't Know and Come On To Me? Did you like them? Do you agree with me? Do you feel like this could be possibly one of the worst releases he's put out? Or have I missed something? Please let me know if there is some merit that I have let slip through my net. This has been Paul or Nothing. Paul is Dead should be out next, I believe. The whole schedule's changed recently. Still working on Tug of War as well. I'll be updating you thusly. Thank you very much, folks. Peace and love, peace and love. Play us out, Denny.